It is truly a pleasure and privilege to be with you today. And what an impressive turnout, really. You did a terrific job, Commissioner. Thanks, everybody, for being here. And thank you for what you do each and every day. I want to thank the commissioners for allowing me the honor of being able to be with you today. Hey, Fred, how are you? Sorry, old friends. I want to thank everybody here for coming, too. There's lots of other things you could do. It's a beautiful weekend in the fall. You could say it's Friday, I can't make it, but you're here because you care. And I know there are so many tireless public servants here in Camden County, but I do have a bone to pick with all of you. Last Tuesday, or a week ago, this past Tuesday, you stole one of my friends when you decided to make Pam Lampett the county clerk. So, yeah, let's have a round of applause for Pam. I've known her since I've had the privilege of serving in the legislature, which goes back to 2010. And over the course of time, I've had a firsthand view of the kind of work that she does and the caring that she brings to that position, serving her people here in Camden County, but throughout the state of New Jersey. And so I will miss her personally. I will miss her professionally. I will miss her wisdom, her guidance, and we will all miss what she brings to the state of New Jersey, which makes it really good for you. So good idea stealing her, but I'm still mad at you. And of course, you have a terrific delegation. So my friend Lou Greenwald, the majority leader, and Bill, the Bills as we call them, Bill Spearman, Bill Moen, all terrific leaders, and Commissioner Betteridge. I'm impressed with the program you've developed. I had the chance to take a look at some of the things that you have done, putting together a focus on all of the essential tasks that we face in public service, and that's what all of you do. Food security, of course, is the thing that has been the closest to my heart. It has been the cornerstone of my speakership. And what I've learned through that and through that involvement is that very few things are isolated and not collected to a cluster of other conditions. When we talk about the things that you have focused on in the series of discussions and conferences, they're all tied together. They're linked together with other fundamental human rights. And it's fitting that we talk about them in concert with one another and the other issues that you're facing. I think we all know that in previous sessions you've talked about homelessness and health care, and those issues, along with education and opportunity, are all intertwined, right? Very few people who are food insecure are just food insecure, right? There's mental health issues, there's homelessness issues, there's all abuse issues, there's all kinds of things that lead them to that. When it comes to priorities, there are very few things that we can do, that we have to do, if we're going to be a truly great state. Now, forgive me, I'm a politician. I'm going to probably list a whole bunch of things and then talk about them again and again and again. That's what they teach us in politician school when we get elected. But the truth of the matter is, and we all know it, that New Jersey, in order to be a great state, and we are, we have to make sure that people have food. We have to make sure that people are fed. We have to make sure that people have a place to live. We have to make sure that they have the medical care that they need, and they have to have opportunity to succeed. And largely, I see that as education, as public education. I'm a big supporter of public education. I'm the proud product of the public education system in the city of South Amboy, a little town, about 8,000 people in Middlesex County. But the truth is, we know that that's what gives people the opportunity to do it. I think they're closer to moral obligations than governmental functions, but they're right for people, and they're good for all of us. Because when we tackle hunger, when we tackle homelessness, when we take on affordable health care for families, along with the best public education system in the country, that's what we have. We ought to be proud of it. We invest heavily of it. When people talk about their property taxes, 65%, I think, on average, go to education. And we get a great return on that, by the way. I mean, if you were the governor of the state of New Jersey and you were going to try to convince somebody, a CEO in some other state, to come to New Jersey, they might ask about the taxes. Well, the truth of the matter is yes, your property taxes are going to be probably higher than you are in some other state. But the other truth of the matter is you're going to send your kid to public school, not private school. And they're going to have all the benefits of the diversity that brings and all of the other things that come along with the public education. They're being part of the community, having those, probably have more options in terms of classes and things like that. That's what we offer, and that's what we're committed to doing. We do that really, really well, and we ought to be really, really proud of that. And we know that when we bring all those people together, every community thrives. When we're letting people do the best that they can to contribute, to be part of the community, when we're having them all come together and giving them the opportunity to succeed. I mean, think about it, right? We all know what a challenge it must be to you get up in the morning, you forgot to get milk, you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do today? Well, imagine if it wasn't that you forgot to go to the grocery store. That it was just that you didn't have the wherewithal to get anything if you went. So changing that, giving people not have to worry about how can you be your best life? How can you succeed as well as you're capable of succeeding if every day you have to spend it worrying about that day and the next day feeding yourself and feeding your family? And so what we do things, and we're working on those, and you're doing them the right way. I'm going to commend you folks for convening discussions around people and confronting real world with people who face the real world, who do the day in and day out, and then developing a comprehensive approach. That's how we're going to do it, and I think that's one of the things that I'm proudest of we've begun to do as my time as speaker. I found it incredibly important to listen, to learn from local leaders and from people who live with things day in and day out. You all know this stuff better than I do. I have spent time making this a priority, and I think it perhaps is if I get credit for anything, I probably get more credit than I deserve. I don't mind it, just for the record. I think that's really good. I have developed a wonderful system, and I recommend it to everyone, and you guys know what I'm going to say now because I say it all the time. Here's what you do. You surround yourself with really smart people, with really committed people who want to make sure that good things happen, and then you make sure you get the credit for it. It's a beautiful system, and I have done that. But it's important to listen in order to do that. And that especially is true when we come to food security. It's vital that we collaborate with the people on the ground, people who meet the people in the food pantries, in the food banks each and every day, serving their neighbors in need. When we share those best practices, when we share innovative ideas, we know that then we can figure out how to marshal the resources that we need to scale up and to deliver things to the entire state. And we're doing that. We really are. It starts with the work of changing an individual's lives, one family at a time, one conversation at a time, one compassionate act at a time. And that's what the folks at food pantries do. I've been blessed to meet a lot of those folks, a lot of people who are on the front lines and who fight. Our greatest asset, in fact, is the people of New Jersey, their tenacious commitment to want to change other people's challenged in life. It's not hard, as you probably all know, to get people engaged in fighting against food insecurity. I think it's something in all of us that says, this isn't right, and we have to fix it. If I can do something about it, I think I have a duty to do it. And it's manifest in people all the time. That's why they show up at food pantries. That's why when in my community, I suspect in most every community here, you're having some sort of a community event. We're lighting a Christmas tree, or we're having a 5K race or something. Bring food. We do it when we send people to vote. Bring something and we collect it. Whatever the system is, people get engaged in it because they want to do it, and you feel a little guilty when you go, oh, I forgot. It's even worse than when you forget the reusable bag and you go to the grocery store. Isn't that a pain in the neck? Just as an aside, how many dinner have I bought because I went, geez, forgot. Anyway, so but people will do that because they want to make a difference. I don't know about you guys. It really ticks me off that I'm so lucky and other people are not. It really does, right? Coughlins are very lucky. We never worry about whether we're going to eat. We only worry about what and oftentimes where. And that makes us really lucky. And it just pisses me off, if you'll excuse me, that other people don't get to do that. It annoys me, and we have to change it, and we are. You are. All of us are, together. And that's why you're the reason that we're going to end hunger in our state. We are going to. Because we don't have a food shortage. We have a getting food to hungry people challenge. And that's what we're doing. That's what you do every day. And that's what we're starting to, and that's what we're doing now as a state collectively. Things were always siloed, right? Camden was different than Middlesex. Middlesex was different than Gloucester. Gloucester was different than Essex. But we're working hard to try to do it together, because when we do it together, we bring the force of everyone pushing in the same direction. The great ideas you have in Cape May are the same great ideas that can be put to work in Sussex. We can do that, and we're starting to do that. So what we're doing in every corner is being able to change that conversation in our state. It's no longer viewed as an intractable problem. I think that message is getting out. That we'll just placate by giving people a can of something, or people writing a check at Christmas and say, my obligation is done. That's not our obligation. We have a much bigger, greater obligation. But I think people are coming together over stuff like that. We've expanded the scope of the fight to include a cluster of issues that you're talking about, and those kinds of things, and how we address them all. We have an Office of Food Security Advocate. You mentioned it, I heard as I was being introduced. One of the really terrific things that we've done, the first and only in the nation, and our coordinated effort to get all of the leaders in the field together on the same page is what he's tasked with doing. And we're started, and that fundamental change is part of our approach. Now, we have done some structural changes, and I also want to tell you this, because I'm going to brag. When your little kid grows up in South Amboy, and you really don't have any political connections or any of that kind of stuff, if you ever get to the White House, you mention it every time you do. So a couple of years ago, I went to the White House. I got invited. President Biden was having, the first time in 60 years, was having a food conference on food insecurity. First time since President Johnson. And I got invited. And I got to listen and go to breakout sessions with other states. And we ought to be really proud of ourselves. Because what those folks talk about in aspirational terms, boy, if we could only do this, if we could only do that, we look at in our rearview mirror and saying, yeah, we did that already, let's go, what's next? We should be proud of that. We did, and we're proud of that because what we have done is we've made it a priority. And when we make priorities in government, Commissioner, you know this, the wheel takes a little while to get rolling. But once it starts to roll, it doesn't stop too easily. And that's what we've done. And that's how you do that, by making a priority. And so we've done things like increase the foundational changes. We increased direct food support to food banks by over 400% during the time I've had the privilege of being the speaker. We've expanded access to free breakfast and lunch for students, and we're going to continue to do that. I think we should have universal free breakfast and lunch. That will make a difference in people's lives. You should clap for that. We've committed to take advantage of things that other states may not. You know, this summer, there was the summer EBT program. You may have been familiar with that, right? Got the credit card, got those things like that. We signed up over 600,000 kids. Led the nation. They come, honest to God, I'm not bragging about things that aren't true. They look to us and say, how did you do that? Well, it's not simple. It's hard work, but it's commitment. By the way, 12 states turned down that money. They turned it down because they called it welfare and they didn't want that. Well, I don't wish ill on anybody, but boy, if they could get a kidney stone, that would be okay with me. Shame on them. Shame on them for not caring about people. And by the way, if you don't want it, send it to us. We don't get our fair share from Washington anyway. We'll take it and we'll put it to really good use. But that's the kind of commitment that we have made. We've invested tens of millions of dollars in grants and innovation awards to help make operators improve storage and transportation. I never thought when I was starting to talk about food insecurity that I'd be worried about trucks and refrigerators. But the truth of the matter is, and you know this better than that, that's why I'm smart enough to come listen and get credit for it. Did I mention that? Yeah. Because you know that. Right? If you're a food pantry and produce and protein don't last as long, right? So let's get them there. Let's go have a truck. Let me go get it from the food pantry. Let me go to the food bank. Let me call up Fred and say, Fred, I'm coming. Get it ready. And then have a refrigerator to put it in so we can provide that thing. Those are the kinds of things that we're doing. We're also innovative. I'm not sure there's another state in the country, I haven't checked, I'll just claim that we're the only state in the country, that included a fight against food deserts as part of its economic development plan. We passed an $11 billion economic plan. Part of that is money dedicated to fighting food deserts. I don't think people often think about that, but we do. In New Jersey, we do. Because we recognize that having a grocery store is a huge advantage for a community, right? I mean, imagine, I have 3 kids. They're not kids anymore. The youngest guy's, well, today's his birthday, as a matter of fact. He's turning 29. Happy birthday, Nicholas. But I remember those days, taking 3 kids to the grocery store. It was great fun, but it was a hell of a lot of work, right? And a little bit of mayhem as they got there. So imagine if you didn't have a car. Imagine if you had to go far away to get to a decent grocery store, because convenience stores are fine, but don't provide you the food that you need. Bodegas are fine, but they don't do that either. Imagine that. You got to get on a bus or take a cab, and if you don't have a lot of money, that's a challenge. And now you got 3 kids, you run around, and then you got to carry it all back. How's that working for you? It's not good. So having a grocery store where you can go and you can get good food, get produce, get fresh food, do all of those things that it allows us to do. And by the way, it's less expensive than a convenience store. It makes a real difference in community. We recognize that as a way of developing our state. And so eliminating those food deserts is something that we're really proud of. And we've also made a deal with local farmers. Farmers have been a great partner in the fight against food insecurity. But it's really hard to be a farmer. Anybody here a farmer? Anybody come from a farming family? It's really hard work. And there's so many factors where things can go wrong. You know, we have a drought right now. That's really bad. We know what would be bad? If we had torrential rain for the next 4 weeks and it just wiped out things too. So you don't just need rain, you need the right amount of rain, and you need the right amount of rain in the right way. That kind of gentle, loping, easy, right? So it's hard. Labor issues are challenging. Prices you don't control. You can't set the price. So we've worked with farmers, and we've established a system of making sure that they have a market for their produce and things like that. It's great for them. It's great for us. All of these things, I think, are great. If they're great for one part of our state or one segment of our state, they're really great for all of us, because we're better if we all succeed. You know, the eternal question, am I my brother's keeper? Well, certainly you are. Of course we are. And not just, you know, that's not necessarily in terms of making profits for companies and things like that. We are when we talk about people who are hungry, but recognizing that all of the things that go into a successful state benefit all of us. And so when we find a way to work with farmers to make sure they have a market, to make sure that they're going to stay there and produce those things that we do, we are the garden state after all, let's make sure that they continue to do that. And what's been really, truly revolutionary about the way that we have gone about this is that we actually do listen. We borrow ideas. Like I said, we steal them from you, claim that they're ours. It's great. And when you hear what works best and what you need to do more about your neighbors, that's really how you do go about figuring out what's next. One of the things that really has resonated with me, and it's already demonstrated in Camden here, is the use of wraparound services, right? I've visited food banks and food pantries and have been on site where there's on-site caseworkers and housing and healthcare folks. We have I want to remind people a lot, we have a book of public or of social services. It's about 5 inches thick. It's great, and it details all of the services that are available. And people who are food insecure deserve and need them. But how do they get to them? Well, what I've learned was by visiting some of these places that when you come in and you are greeted by somebody who treats you like a person, that's a way better way to get people invested in that. It's the way you do it. You ever go to the food bank of South Jersey? When you walk in, people treat you like a real person. They're happy to have you. Imagine that. People don't go to food banks or food pantries until they're really desperate. Usually it's desperate for their family. They don't come, the first day. They try to figure it out, or they try to figure it out, or they believe that they're going to do it, and finally I think they reach a point where they really say, I can't do this anymore. I need help. And for years, I think people were just given a bag of whatever the heck we had and said, God bless you, go. That's not the new model, right? That's not what we're doing. I'm sure that's not what you're doing in places here in Camden. Right? I know it's what's happening in other places. People having a choice. Get a grocery cart. Walk around. Pick out the things that your family likes that are culturally consistent with what you like. That's the way we get folks invested. Because when we do that, and people are doing it, that's the way now. What happens? They feel like a real person. They feel better about themselves. And then what do? Well, they do a couple things. One, they trust you, and two, they come back. And so once we have folks coming back, that's the great thing. Now we've got them in a system, and we can do the things that move them along the line from being food insecure and desperate from the first time they come in to helping them reach out and take advantage of that book, which is a gold mine, but often needs people to help you rather than just being handed, here's a book, go find out what works for you. Maybe language issues, maybe sophistication issues. I mean, God knows I couldn't find this stuff on the World Wide Web. But you meet with a person who cares about you. And maybe for the first time in a long time, you feel like somebody, you matter. And so you come back and you trust those people, and then they help you. And they help you move from the one step to the next step. You go from being hungry to coming back and having a place where I know I can count on. I'm not going to feel like bad about myself by going there. And then they're going to trust me. They're going to say, well, we can help you find these services. And then we're going to help you understand that why it's important that you continue to struggle, even if it is to struggle to get to a grocery store rather than going to the convenience store. And then maybe we help you find a job. And then when it all works, because of somebody who treated you like you were a human being when you walked through the front door, maybe you got a job. And now someday you're going to get to be somebody who is not a recipient, but who's a donor. When you've done that, you've changed their lives. And when you change enough lives, you change the world. That's what you're doing every day. That's what each of you does every day. You're helping to change the world. Get the kids signed up for health care. Do all of those kind of things that are going to change people's lives. And it starts off because they were desperate, and it starts off because you treated them like they were a human being who wasn't a charity case, who wasn't somebody who we needed to help because we felt bad for, because you welcomed them in. Think about how different that feels, all right? God, I walked in, I got applause. That was great. Made me feel like $1 million. When I leave, if you boo, I'll feel really bad. If you clap, just a hint, I'll feel good. Anyway, that model, the truth of the matter is dignity, respect, things that every human being deserves are the things that help change their lives. Coming to you when they need that and getting it is really the thing that changes their lives. We're going to beat this challenge. We are going to eliminate food insecurity in the state of New Jersey because of folks like you, because we have the will to do it, because we've made a priority and we have the wherewithal to get it done. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I think it's a little bit fitting that it's Thanksgiving, and we all get to focus on those things that make us really thankful. One of those things that I'm particularly thankful for is folks like you, folks who've changed the state, folks who make people feel good about themselves, and folks who have taken on a challenge to solve something that will really change the world. Thank you very much for letting me be with you. It's a privilege. And I'm again sorry I'm late.